Hello gang, a very warm welcome to another instalment from the channel that is Jono's Graveyard Jaunt. Now today I'm in the beautiful county of Warwickshire once more, specifically in the stunning Regency town of Royal Leamington Spa, where I'll be walking through Leamington Cemetery on the outskirts of the town as I narrate this video. Now the first map shows where the county of Warwickshire sits in relation to the UK, and the second map shows where Leamington Spa sits in relation to the county of Warwickshire. For the pugilists and boxing fans amongst you, I think you will enjoy this one. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a Leamington legend who in 1951 became world middleweight boxing champion and was known as the Leamington Licker. I am of course talking about the boxing legend known as Randolph Turpin. In today's video, I shall visit the basement flat where Randolph lived for a period of his life, located on 6 Wall Street in the town of Leamington Spa. I shall also visit the final resting place of Randolph Turpin, located here at Leamington Cemetery. Randolph Turpin was born in Leamington Spa in Warwickshire on the 7th of June 1928 to a black father, Lionel, who was born in British Guiana, now known as Guyana, in 1896. Lionel Turpin had come to England to fight in the First World War. He had met Randolph's mother after coming out of hospital following treatment for his injuries sustained towards the end of the war. During his service, he had fought at the Battle of the Somme. He died within a year of Randolph's birth, having never really recovered from the lung damage caused by a gas attack. And this left Randolph's mother, Beatrice Nee Whitehouse, to raise 5 children. Being a widow with 5 children to look after, Beatrice struggled to make ends meet on a small war pension and had to work from morning until night as a domestic cleaner in order to earn money. Beatrice was the daughter of a former bare-knuckle fighter and was by all accounts a very feisty woman who would tell her children to stand up for themselves when they were subject to racial abuse. Now Randolph was the youngest of 5 children. Though he was born in Leamington, he actually grew up and went to school in the nearby town of Warwick, and he nearly drowned as a child when he became trapped underwater while swimming, and this accident resulted in a burst eardrum which left him partially deaf in one ear. He also nearly died from double pneumonia and bronchitis. So this is the house. I'm specifically going to be talking about the basement flat because that's where the legend that was Randolph Turpin was born on the 7th of June 1928 and became world middleweight champion in 1951. Defeating Sugar Ray Robinson, a reign which lasted 64 days. Randolph started boxing during the intervals at local boxing shows and then the boxing booths at local fairs with his brother Jackie Turpin. He won 3 national junior titles and then won the senior ABA championships in 1945 at welterweight and in 1946 at middleweight. In 1945, he won both the junior and senior ABA titles in the same season, the only person to have ever completed such a feat, and the first black boxer to win a senior ABA championship. He also fought for Great Britain in the annual televised match against the US in 1946 and scored a first-round knockout in his contest. He was approached by many top professional managers but decided to turn professional with George Middleton, a local man who managed his brother Dick. He made his professional debut in London on the 17th of September 1946, stopping Gordon Griffiths. In 1951, Sugar Ray Robinson, who was considered by many to be the greatest boxer of all time, embarked upon a European tour. Now the final leg of the tour was to fight for the world title with Randolph Turpin in London. Few people gave Turpin a chance of winning against Robinson, and in fact many people thought that it was a mismatch and that Turpin could be badly hurt. Robinson had been unbeaten as an amateur and had only lost 1 fight out of a total of 132 as a professional, and that was to Jake LaMotta. He had subsequently avenged the loss to LaMotta, beating him a total of 5 times. And on the 10th of July 1951, a crowd of 18,000 turned up at Earl's Court to watch Turpin fight Robinson. And by the 15th round, Turpin was ahead on points and only had to survive the round to win the fight. At the end of the fight, Turpin's glove was raised by the referee in victory. He was the first British fighter to hold the world middleweight title since Bob Fitzsimmons in 1891. He had become an overnight sporting hero. 2 days later, he was given a civic reception before a crowd of 10,000 people in his hometown of Leamington, with the mayors of both Leamington and Warwick present. Turpin became the second man to defeat Robinson, only the second man to defeat Robinson when he won a 15-round decision. Robinson and Turpin had a rematch in September of 1951 when Robinson regained the title by a 10th round knockout.
Now Turpin in defeat.
Well, the referee stopped the fight last night. I knew what I was doing, and I knew that I'd been down for a count of 7. It was a surprise early, but it's no good arguing with the referee because his decision is final.
So Randolph's reign as a champion lasted only 64 days. Randolph eventually stopped boxing in the mid-1960s and had various failed business dealings outside of the ring, purchasing a small transport cafe on Russell Street in Leamington Spa prior to becoming bankrupt. Now, the building was under threat of compulsory purchase by the council when he bought it. However, he still went ahead despite people telling him not to do so. He put up a plaque behind the counter which said, and I quote, "That which seldom comes back to him who waits is the money he lends to his friends." Now, he worked at a scrapyard owned by his manager and then started to make a living as a wrestler, and since retiring from boxing, he had suffered from depression because of his money troubles. In addition, his personal doctor thought that Randolph had become punch drunk from all the blows he had taken to the head during his boxing career. This had led him to becoming morose in his later years. He had become bitter about his boxing career, believing that he had been exploited by having to pay the tax money on money that he had never received. And when strangers tried to talk to him about his time in the ring, he would change the subject. During the course of his career, he is estimated from records kept by his manager to have grossed in the region of about £300,000, which will be the equivalent of about £7 million in today's money. He was found dead from gunshot wounds in the flat above the Transport Cafe on the 17th of May 1966. He had a wound to the head. The bullet lodged against his skull did not enter his brain, but the second bullet entered his heart, which had killed him. His daughter, Carmen, who was 17 months old at the time, also had 2 bullet wounds, and it was assumed that he'd shot her before taking his own life. His daughter was rushed to hospital and managed to make a full recovery. From all accounts, Turpin had been a doting father to his daughters. Now, at the inquest, his death was ruled as suicide. However, his family believed that he'd been murdered and it had been made to look like a suicide, because he had left a typed letter written in 1964 stating that attempts had been made on his life to prevent him from getting money that he was owed and from talking to the authorities about business deals in the world of boxing. He stated that he was not scared of death, but they had now started threatening to harm his wife and children. He implied that boxing promoter Jack Solomons was involved, although there was no evidence to back up this allegation. He had also been badly beaten up by 4 men, and he had brushed it off at the time, stating that it must have been some of the fans who had taken a disliking to him following one of his wrestling contests. He had drifted apart from his brothers and sisters because they did not get on with his wife Gwyneth. His death came less than a year after that of Freddie Mills, who was Britain's other post-war boxing world champion. Freddie Mills, had also died under mysterious circumstances and was ruled to have taken his own life, although some claimed he had been murdered by gangsters also. Due to the circumstances behind his death, Turpin became somewhat of a forgotten hero, and Turpin was inducted as a member of the Boxing Hall of International Fame in Canastota, New York, in 2001. And there is a statue of him in Market Square, Warwick, and on his headstone it states that he was 38 when he died, although he was actually 37, as he was 20 days short of his 38th birthday. Now, at his funeral, Reverend Eugene Helsden said, and I quote, "At the height of his career, Randolph was surrounded by those who regarded themselves as friends and well-wishers, but he was deserted by many as he lost his position and money. The fickleness of his friends and the incompetent advice must have weighed so heavily upon him that he was forced to desperation. Now, Randolph was a simple man, a naive man, and he needed friends to protect him from the sponges. To our shame, he was let down. The tragedy is not his failure alone, but the failure of the whole of society. So this is Leamington Cemetery in the beautiful town of Royal Leamington Spa on the outskirts, and the final resting place of Randolph Adolphus Turpin, world middleweight champion, 1951. Sadly took his own life. It does actually say he died at 38, but he died at 37, 20 days before his 38th birthday. Rest in peace, Randolph, R.I.P. And that concludes the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment on the video.